We have some breaking news, some new reports on the U.S. preparing to seize more oil tankers off the coast of Venezuela. Eamon Javers is here with the details from the White House. Eamon?
Kelly, let me walk you through it. First of all, Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, just told reporters in a briefing here at the White House a short time ago that the U.S. does intend to seize the oil on the tanker that has already been secured. That tanker will be moved to a U.S. port. She said that officials are on board the tanker, interviewing the crew, scouring the ship for information and evidence, and ultimately an investigation will be launched as to whether the assets, the ship and the oil and anything on it should be seized by the U.S. government. No information from the White House on what will happen after that. Secondly, we've got a report here from Reuters just within the past few moments as well, suggesting that the United States is preparing to seize more Venezuelan oil tankers in the open ocean. I just talked to a White House official here in the West Wing about that a couple of moments ago. That White House official not disputing that report at all, quite the contrary, saying that the United States government is prepared to enforce the law, and also saying that seizing more tankers is definitely something that this administration would want to do. To that end, Kelly, our intrepid producers on the news desk at CNBC Global Headquarters have spotted the OFAC list the Treasury puts out. That is the seized asset list or the sanctions list by the Treasury Department has just been updated, and on it are a number of oil tankers. These are now designated oil tankers that are allegedly in violation of U.S. sanctions. Those include H. Constance, a crude oil tanker with a Panama flag; Carria M, a crude oil tanker with a Panama flag; Latafa, a crude oil tanker also Panamanian flagged; Monique, of Cook Islands flag; Tamia, a crude oil tanker with a Hong Kong flag, et cetera, et cetera. You get the idea. A lot of crude oil tankers are now on Treasury's OFAC list. So we could watch for more seizures by U.S. forces as they track down Venezuela oil imports that they say are in violation of U.S. sanctions. And one more thing, Kelly, the big question here is what happens to that oil that's on that tanker? Where does that go? Now, typically, the process for any law enforcement seizure is that those assets would be deemed through a legal process to be forfeited to the U.S. government. At some point down the line, quite a bit down the line, there will be an auction, often by the U.S. Marshals, to auction off those seized assets that the U.S. government does not need to hold anymore. So frequently you see the U.S. Marshals auctioning off houses and Ferraris and other assets that have been seized by drug dealers and other lawbreakers. In this case, that is one option, although the White House is not committing to going down the path of having a U.S. Marshals auction for thousands of barrels of oil seized on the open ocean. Kelly, back over to you.
Well, I would say, Eamon, it's Brian, jump in. Yeah, we reported on some of the names of these ships back in 2022. I'm sure the names have been changed many times, or the ships are out of commission now. The oil is one thing. What do we know, Eamon, if anything, about the ships themselves? Most of these are old and kind of beaten up. Are they going to be just let go, or will those be sold off or scrapped or sunk?
Well, presumably, now we're a couple steps in the process ahead of this, but if we go down the process to the point at which there is a forfeiture determination by the U.S. government under the law, then that asset is forfeited. So it's just like a drug dealer's Ferrari, and then the U.S. government has to decide what to do with it. Often they do auction those assets off at the end of the process. In this case, you'd wonder whether there is any market value at all for some of these ships. As you say, they're in often terrible condition. They might not be worth much on the open market other than for scrap or for parts, but presumably there's somebody out there who might buy them for some legal purpose down the line. But we have a ways to go, several steps in the process before we get to that point, Brian.